Well, welcome into the first episode of Nuggets of Knowledge with the father-son financial planning team of Chris and Dylan Bowman. Guys, good to see you. We're kicking things off. I know we're going to get into a lot of conversations, but first, just want to kind of welcome you guys to the show and glad to kind of launch this thing with you guys.
Thanks for having us, Ben.
Super excited, Ben.
We're going to talk a lot of financial planning, estate planning, all the stuff that you guys get into every single day, but kind of wanted to begin just with a little bit of background on who you guys are, the business itself, the team, and what you guys do away from work, and just kind of lay the foundation there. So this episode will be mainly focused on the business a little bit, then also the personal side of you guys and just away from the office. And then we'll get into some of the planning and the business on the client side in our next part of this. But let's jump right in. Again, all the contact information as we go through this will be in the show description, so make sure you check it out there. But I want to start with kind of how you got into this. I'm sure you both have a little bit of a different story, but how did you decide to get into this business of being a financial advisor?
You know, it's interesting. Mine was more of an evolution than a conscious choice at the beginning. I graduated from University of Miami, and my father had just retired from corporate life, and we actually started a business together. So I thought, what an incredible opportunity. My father ran part of the worldwide operations for a big conglomerate, and I thought, man, what an incredible experience to build something with him. And so I did that, and after a couple of years, the business got up and running, but my passion really was to go work on Wall Street. And almost all my friends from college either went into law or investment banking. So I got asked to join an investment banking firm on Wall Street. And it was a tremendous opportunity to understand how companies raise money and how they go public and how they trade in the aftermarket. And there was a great foundation for understanding, the stock market and how things, work in that world. So that was the evolution. And then from there, I mean, it's a long story after that. I won't take up the whole show on that, but, maybe Dylan has a different beginning for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. It's turning generational. You and your father started a business together, and now here we are.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life. Post grad, I went and studied business management and entrepreneurship, and then as I started to get to graduation, it was kind of either sales or finance for me, right? And I realized that I wanted to sell myself, not things. I didn't want to have to wake up every day and start fresh and sell the same thing over and over again, right? I wanted to build a relationship. I sell myself. You sell yourself as you go, as you build, and then it kind of just turns into a fruitful relationship for everybody involved. So that was just really appealing to the whole financial world, that you're selling yourself, but you're building relationships along the way.
Whose idea was it to work together? Chris, was this you? Did you have to sell Dylan on doing this, or was it the opposite?
Well, actually, I went to Fidelity after college. So I graduated, went right to Fidelity, and it was great. Obviously, amazing company, great training programs. But, as I was kind of there doing the whole corporate thing, I started going back to my entrepreneurial roots and was like, you know what? I have the opportunity to work with my father. It was kind of both of our ideas at the same time. But he definitely helped me come over that hump and make that decision to leave the safe corporate job and come with him and build a business together. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So,
and in life, I think you can be certainly blessed to have, amazing children. And then the next evolution is if you have the opportunity to work together. And I think sometimes, families, are forced into that because it's a family business. For this, I think we've gotten to a point in life where I rely more on Dylan than he relies on me. And my daughter is actually part of the business too, in a different side of the business. But I certainly rely on him and his background and his knowledge and stuff. And we've been doing this for a long time. Dylan's been a part of this business, whether he's actually worked here or not, from a very, very early age, which we'll touch on as we go through today.
And Chris, you probably have a pretty unique perspective on it too, kind of being on his side of things when you're working with your father as well. Is there anything that you kind of take away from that experience with your dad that you've kind of carried into this business?
The relationship evolves, right? I mean, we have a very, very close relationship. I'm blessed to have a close relationship with both my children, but, it evolves, right? You're coming in as a father figure, and before you know it, you're like, wait a minute, this is a grown man, and he brings unique perspectives and ideas and knowledge and stuff. And so I think in the beginning, probably not hard, not always easy working for me, but I think that relationship has really evolved very, very quickly into, a reliance on each other. Him looking at me, like the old bull, and I'm looking at him like the young bull and what he brings to the table. So, it's growing and evolving and quite amazing. So I'm blessed.
Yeah, I love that. A really, really unique background at Prospect Wealth Advisors. And again, kind of why we want to kind of tell the story. But, you both kind of have that corporate background a little bit and getting into this role as a financial advisor. What does it mean to you, both personally and professionally, to be in this position?
Personally, the relationships that you forge in this business is really amazing. I mean, I have clients that I've had for very, very long time, periods of time that, that transcends just being a client and to a friendship. So on a personal level, it's amazing. And helping people, I think, you can't get into this business if there's not a part of you that wants to help people. And, certainly professionally along those same lines, if you can use the knowledge that you gained over a long period of time in the financial world, I mean, don't forget, people have saved their entire life, to turn that money over and to you and to give them guidance on, kind of building it up through, the accumulation phase. And then more importantly, helping them during the distribution phase, which, I usually use that analogy when I'm doing a seminar, and I say we're like a financial Sherpa. Our job is to help you on the way up the mountain, but believe it or not, more importantly, down the mountain. More people die on the way down the mountain when you're mountain climbing than on the way up. So there's a long answer to that, but very fruitful in both sides.
Yeah, and for me, it's a professional setting, but we're building personal relationships, right? And it can be stressful, like Chris said. These people have saved their entire lives for this money that we have the blessing and the ability to watch over for them. But we're also solving problems together, right? It doesn't feel monotonous. It's challenging, but it's exciting. We're not working for each other. We're working with each other. So it really is a unique industry, a unique job, and a lot of unique experiences. So it's really fruitful.
Yeah, relationships are at the core of that, and I'm curious: is that the most rewarding part of this? Is the relationships that you build?
Dylan will give you, probably some examples, but these relationships transcend. I mean, it's interesting because, people come to you to watch their finances, but at the end of the day, sometimes we're a trusted confidant. A lot of times we're the first people that are called when a family member passes away. What do we do? How do we get through this and stuff? So, people come to us to help manage their money and to make the money and protect their money. But at the same time, there's so many different levels of things that we do to help them, protect them, and guide them that, it has to be the most fulfilling part is the relationships for sure.
Sure. Yeah. And, we do a lot of work with estate planning as well, and we'll get into that in later episodes, later shows. But that really helps us develop that personal relationship with them, right? We're putting their estate together. We need to know a lot about them. They need to tell us a lot about them, about their family, about their history, along with all the financial stuff, all the investments. But yeah, it's really, really fruitful relationship. It's a great time. And I've learned a lot about myself, a lot about people, a lot about tackling challenges and situations, but it's been great.
We're going to get into the business side of it a little bit more in terms of the planning process, but just to kind of set the stage, how would you describe your approach to financial planning? I know every place is a little bit different, but how would you describe yours?
Everybody's heard this a lot, the holistic, outlook on financial planning and it may be overused, but it's really true. I mean, there's so many foundational things that really go into, financial planning other than just making people money. It's estate planning and making sure people's estate planning are in place. And if they don't have something, help them, put together their estate planning documents. My father, unfortunately, and we'll get into it more on a later episode as well, my father died in a tragic motorcycle accident and had nothing in place. And he was a corporate executive. And we'll get into the things that transpired in that if I would have known or been surrounded by somebody that could give me guidance during that time, boy, could we have avoided a lot of unnecessary spending of monies and time. And so we look at the foundational, whether that's, certainly everybody needs an estate plan, income planning, retirement planning, tax planning, risk management. All of that goes into every single solitary client, and every client is uniquely different. Even if two clients in front of you both say they're moderate, they might be light years away in that moderate realm. So what does that mean? Somebody might have more assets, and some people might need more income. Some people want to pass on a legacy. So the information gathering on each client to put together a unique custom plan for everybody is paramount.
Sure. Yeah. And for me, I came into the industry at a different time than Chris, right? He was here 20 to 25 years before I entered the industry. So there have been massive changes and innovations in the space. I'm sure Chris has seen some drastic changes over that time period. Not only has there been an introduction of things like AI and cryptocurrency, but this stuff also means a lot for compliance and suitability and security risks. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of grow up in this time period, in this era, to understand this stuff a little bit more. So I bring a fresh approach in that sense. Chris brings the approach of being in the industry for a long time, seeing that growth, that progression. So together we make a great team, and it really does help fit into that holistic planning that Chris was talking about.
All right. So make sure you check out part 2 of this conversation. We're going to get more into the business, the planning, and the clients that they work with at Prospect Wealth Advisors. So hit subscribe. That one will be coming soon. Let's shift gears though and go personal a little bit and talk about kind of away from the day-to-day that you guys work there at Prospect Wealth Advisors. You're in Tempe, Arizona. What does a typical weekend look like? When you're not at the office, how are you spending your time?
Yeah, that's Dylan could go first, or I will. I love the outdoors. Anything outdoors, I love. I love to ski. I love to, I love to hike. Anything outside is great. Dylan and I love to, love adventurous things. We went to this, place in Cave Creek, Arizona, and at the end of this bull riding event, they asked if anybody wants to ride a bull. And I looked at Dylan and I go, I'm going to go ride a bull. And he looked at the rest of my family and went, Dad's going to ride a bull. I cannot let him ride a bull without me riding a bull. And so believe it or not, we both strapped on some helmets and a chest plate protector, and we both rode bulls. I go, how many people ride bulls? And so we were visiting a new client recently in Hawaii, and decided that we were going to jump out of a plane at 14,000 feet and go and go parachuting. And
I don't know which one was scarier.
Yeah, I don't know which one was either.
Silver Bowl, probably.
Pretty bizarre jumping out of a plane at 14,000 feet. But we like adventure. We did an adventure race in Mammoth Mountain. We did a Spartan race in Mammoth Mountain. I think this was the time that I really understood the difference between, Dylan's youth and my age at 10,000 feet of elevation. I think I took that for granted. So, but I got through it. So.
Yeah, I love hanging out with my friends and family. Obviously, I'm a very outdoorsy person, but, I like to check out cool restaurants and bars. Super active. Again, go hiking, go on a lot of trips with friends and family, or just hang out by the pool. Here in Arizona, it's at least 100 degrees 8 months out of the year. So actually spend a lot of time outside, believe it or not. Friends and I will go play like spike ball or volleyball in the park. A couple of my friends and I actually went to a group yoga event last night put on by Revival. It's kind of like a networking event to meet people, kind of big open field, yoga events, little vendors and stuff. Chris and I actually recently went through a very big pickleball phase. Those games got heated, but it was a great time. A lot of fun.
Definitely competition. I got to tell you, I have to work pretty damn hard to
it's funny because, I'm obviously a lot younger and athletic and more nimble, but he also grew up playing tennis.
What do you mean, obviously?
Well,
more athletic. We can agree on the younger, but Chris
he grew up
more
playing
athletic.
tennis. So where I'm relying fully on my athleticism, sprinting across the court, he's just got the backhand shots down. He's dropping it right over the net and hitting the back corners. So it's pretty evenly matched.
I love that you guys are able to have so many shared experiences as well. I think that probably is evidence with the work that you do with clients. They probably can take notice of that, but that's pretty cool. Give me one thing that might surprise people about you. You can take this any direction you want.
Whether it's a personal and professionally, personally, when I was in college, I got asked to be on the dating game. So if people want to research, go back through the archives and into the 80s, I was actually on the dating game when I was in college. So that was pretty funny. Anyway, I love the arts. If I were to come back in any other life, I would probably do something with interior design or architecture. So that's my one of my pleasures in life. Going to museums, certainly around the world, and unfortunately probably buying artwork. And it doesn't have to be expensive artwork. Just I really, really appreciate when somebody makes something or paints something. And so anyway.
Yeah, I was talking about my whole life being an entrepreneur, right? I mentioned AI. In high school, I used to resell shoes, right? I used to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be there on the Nike website to buy the newest Jordans or like the Travis Scott collabs or something like that. I actually bought a bot to buy it for me to make it easier. Doing it manually, you can only do it so fast, and a lot of time you're waiting in the queue. I figured out a way to get a bot to bypass those queues for me and automatically buy the shoes. You're not really allowed to do it anymore, but back then you could do it. There's a lot of stuff on the websites now that have bot protection, but it was interesting. It was a learning lesson. It's come a long way for sure. But.
So when Dylan said earlier that he's been an entrepreneur his whole life, I think he started being an entrepreneur when he was like 10 years old. So some people might laugh like he's young. How much could he have had? He was doing this kind of stuff at like 10 years old.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Chris, is that any video exist of that dating game appearance anywhere?
I'm not going to tell you, Ben.
I'll put my editors on it.
You'll have to do your research.
Everybody has to do their own research.
That's amazing. All right, let's do a little rapid fire before we get out of here in this first episode. I got a bunch of questions. Again, you can kind of give a quick answer to these, but we'll run through a bunch of these to kind of get a little more background on what you guys like to do and a little bit of your personality. What's your go-to coffee order?
I'm pretty simple, but I like it. It's got to have some cream in it, and it's got to have a little sugar in it.
Yeah, I'm usually a latte, most of the time iced. Funny though, one of the girls who works in our office, she's like our barista. She makes us coffees every morning with the caramel crunch and the caramel ribbon and the drizzle and all that. So I've started to drift a little sweeter than usual, but typically just a nice latte.
Love that. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would you pick?
Dylan and I both have a strong faith in God, and so obviously that would be first and foremost. But Theodore Roosevelt would be one as well. If we're talking something outside of that, why? I love adventure. So to have a president like that has adventure, there's really an incredible documentary on. Right now, called Yellowstone to Yosemite, and talks about him and his discovery partner. But I also, it has some amazing, quotes, and one that I've lived by, and I'll share it as we go through. I think there might be something else down the road that we'll talk about, our favorite quote, but it comes from him. Yeah,
I was gonna say it's obviously Jesus Christ, right? Can there be a more historical figure in human history?
Yeah, that's
a good answer. All right. Book, podcast, or movie that you love or might recommend to someone?
Recently I read one called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what it really did was break down making small little, steps every day rather than some big goal. And if you chip away at the little things and stay consistent with the little things, then the bigger things will just fall into play. And I think, when you build a business and in anything in life, and whether it's in a relationship, whether it's a business, chip away at the little things and be consistent with the small things, and you'll realize that the big things will take care of itself.
Yeah, my friend and I actually started a book club over this book called Red Rising. It's a series. It's kind of like Hunger Games meets Game of Thrones, but sci-fi. It's kind of really all I can say, but if that at all intrigues you, it's a phenomenal series.
Very cool. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Geez, I mean, I'd have to say, having the ability to either go back in time, to when, other people have passed and go meet with people. It's along the same lines of who I like to sit down with, to be able to go back in time and do that. And, time is the biggest, kind of most precious commodity in life, right? We can't get it back, and it's not renewable. And it's the thing in life when I think back on, some of my clients that have had the most wealth, none of them look back on their life and say, look at all my stuff. They say, I wish I was around more. I wish I was present more. So I wish I could go back in time.
Sure. Kind of along those same lines, right? How much time do we spend traveling and getting from point A to point B? I'd say teleportation. If I could bring some things with me, right? Get my suitcase, teleport across the world, for the weekend, for the day, whatever it is. I think that would be great, and I'm sure would save a lot of time.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Speaking of that, it takes us to our next question. What's the best vacation you've been on? It sounds like you guys have had some pretty good experiences. So what would be number one?
Geez, for me, it had to have been Africa. My father and I went to Africa when I was younger on a safari/missions trip. It was wonderful. We got to visit a school in the rural backcountry of Africa, brought suitcases full of crayons and markers and pencils and lollipops, got these kids new uniforms and helped put together a new soccer field for them. So that was probably one of the most, fun but pivotal vacations I've ever had.
I think you really get a sense for the poverty when you're in those kind of areas. You really, really understand that. And I think it was a tremendous experience for both of us, but to really understand, sometimes in America, we lose sight of just, kind of the poverty, certainly we have it here in America, but around the world. So I think that was a blessing. I lived in Australia from an early part of my life. So, going back to Australia with my children, and I actually brought my mom back with us on the trip. So with my wife and my two kids and my mom, went back, and to watch my son surf in the same spot I did when I was 5 or 6 years old and learned to surf, and just, being back in a wonderful country like Australia was fabulous too.
That's really cool. You guys have a lot of stories, I'm sure, to share. Maybe we'll do that over the course of the show. Morning person or night owl?
I'm both.
I'm a night owl.
I'm up early, and I am late to go to bed.
All right, small habit or routine that you swear by to start your day.
Not going on your phone first thing in the morning. If you can get from waking up to the office without going on your phone, the rest of the day is so much better. It's hard to explain, but
I start mine with coffee and prayers every morning. So, I mean, that's my kind of routine.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that more, Dylan. Just like, it's just such a habit to grab that and to see what you missed, try to catch up on stuff. But I'm trying to be more intentional about, all right, leave that alone. Everything can wait. Take your time on that. So that's cool that you do that. A little motivation for me. What's a guilty pleasure you can't resist?
Haagen-Dazs caramel cone. Haagen-Dazs ice cream. It's caramel ice cream with chocolate covered cone chunks. That's my kryptonite.
Mine is that new Dubai chocolate. I mean,
it's everywhere.
Geez, it's so good. And, a bigger one is just art. I just love, buying art, being around art. So that's another guilty pleasure of mine, unfortunately.
Yeah, fortunately. You guys are in Tempe, as I mentioned, a beautiful area of the country. What's your favorite local restaurant or hangout spot?
Mine's Zips. ZIPPS, sports bar and grill, started in Arizona. It's about 3 minutes from my house. It's kind of where all my friends and I get together after a hike or to watch the games or whatnot. My favorite wings. Golden medium, extra crispy, extra saucy.
Mine is we've been going to this place called Cafe Pinot off of the 101 in Scottsdale, and for probably 25 years, it's a Mediterranean, but mixed with homemade pastas and stuff. And they have this asparagus soup that's just unbelievable and just good, great food. And we've been going there so long. It's like going to Cheers, where everybody knows your name, everybody knows the family. We sit at the same table every time. So very cool.
Yeah, those places aren't around as much anymore, right? The service industry just it's struggled a lot, especially since COVID. So it's cool to have a place like that to kind of rely on. If you won the lottery tomorrow, it's financial advisors. I'm curious your answer. What's the first thing you would do?
I'd tithe into the church right away. Impact Church in Scottsdale. It's a church I go to. It's wonderful music. Great pastor, PT, Pastor Travis. It's great. So I'd donate a big chunk to the church, some other charities, and then I'd get my family right. I'd get everybody right, and then just hold on to it, save it, not make any rash decisions, spend it all at once, and spread it out.
Yeah, me, I'd probably, look to start a foundation or something, because I wouldn't go out and spend it right away. But, kind of giving back is, a big part of what we love to do. And we think that we're blessed enough to live in a time frame and have a business that we can kind of help give back to. So I think, starting a foundation that all the family can be involved with, and then, putting it away. Obviously, extended family, helping people out and then putting it away.
I love that. All right, let's finish with this last one. What's a motto or a quote that you try to live by?
I'll start and then I'll let Chris end with his quote. I don't really have a specific quote, but lately it's kind of just been that you have one life, right? So why not? Why are we scared to do anything? Why are we scared to try? You have one life. The biggest regret we're going to have when we're older is looking back and saying, what if? I should have tried that. How much different could my life have been if I did do that thing or meet that person or take that move? So it's more of a life motto than a quote. But
I think there is a quote like that. It says, we only regret the chances we didn't take. And my quote came from my father. When I was a freshman in college, my father gave me a card with a quote on it from Theodore Roosevelt, which is why I picked him. And it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out where the strong man stumbled or where the doer of the deed could have done better. The credit is the man that's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who comes up short again and again because there is not effort without shortcoming and failure. In the end, it's about, it ends with, so that your place will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And so with my kids, I always say, be in the arena. That doesn't mean, being bloody, but be in the arena, be in the game, and work hard. And we've always lived by that motto, myself and my kids as well.
Yeah, it feels like more and more people today could pay a little more attention to that motto, I think, for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing. I mean, I think this is a really good kind of starter episode to kind of get to know more about you. You guys obviously have a lot of experience, not just in financial planning, but just within your lives. And it's pretty cool to kind of hear some of those stories, and looking forward to hearing more of those. Our next episode will be focused on the clients that they work with over at Prospect Wealth Advisors, the planning process itself, give you a little peek inside that before we get into all the planning conversations that we'll get into down the road. But make sure you subscribe to Nuggets of Knowledge. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us, subscribe there as well. We appreciate that. And all the contact information is in the show description as well. So check it out there. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We got more coming soon, so please subscribe. Chris, Dylan, as always, we appreciate your time. Looking forward to this journey with you.
Thanks, Ben.
Appreciate it. Talk soon.
The information presented in this show is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation or advice specific to your situation. Prospect Wealth Advisors help clients prepare for retirement using various insurance and investment products and strategies. Investment advisory services are offered through Creative One Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth LLC and Prospect Wealth Advisors are unaffiliated entities. We are not affiliated with any government agency and do not provide tax or legal advice. Tax and legal services are offered through our network of qualified tax and legal professionals. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No investment strategy can ensure profit or guarantee against losses. Insurance product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company.